what President Biden was getting at is something really important. To a lot of folks, frankly, it sounded almost belated. Look, the good news is this country has never been wealthier. In so many respects, we are building companies. We're on the cusp of a new era of technology in all the ways you talk about on the show every day, whether it's AI and robotics. And yet, at the same time, as you know, there are about half of American adults who will tell you that they don't have $1,000 to spend on an emergency expense. We are at a point now, it's really sort of similar to where we've been at moments in our history, where we have tremendous technological opportunity, huge wealth creation, and we're also facing a fork in the road to make sure that that is also not steering our government down a path that Henry Ford used to say that he wanted to make sure that his own employees, his own workers could afford the cars he was making. And those are some of the decisions we have to be making now.
This is clearly a theme that has animated a lot of your work. I look at the Osnos oeuvre going back to your first book, Age of Ambition, Chasing Fortune, Truth, and Faith in the New China, which I read on my first trip to Shanghai. And you remarked then on just the abundance, the amount of wealth, the excitement about wealth and upward mobility in China. As you look at this particular book, are we looking at something that's uniquely American, or has this rise of the ultra rich been sort of shared globally?
Yeah, it's a fascinating parallel in many ways, David. I mean, I first started reading, in a sense, about the American Gilded Age when I was living in China, because I was trying to understand what was happening. We were seeing railroads built at a pace we hadn't seen since America in the 19th century. It's fitting in some ways that I used The Great Gatsby when I lived in Beijing to conceptualize it. Here we are. It's 2025, 100th anniversary of that book. There are a lot of lessons in there about how do you take that sense of cultural energy that we might have had at certain moments in the roaring 20s, but also the awareness that without making really smart choices, we're not going to make sure that this money gets into the hands of people who can rise with the tide.
Evan, you grew up in the crucible of this, Greenwich, Connecticut, where I'm sure 3 kids down the street did have Hinckley picnic boats. You didn't. Your father was acclaimed within journalism. But what does the crew do below the fancy people to try to get their kids to motivate and have a good life and even aspire to be richer? I mean, this is topic 1 right now, between the buffeting of AI, the decline of liberal arts. What do the kids do just below those with the super yachts?
Yeah, I face these questions myself. I'm a dad. I've got 2 kids. I think about the challenges of people coming out of school today and how hard it's going to be to get those first jobs. But here's the thing. We have some pretty great models to inspire us in terms of how to think about being energetic, being creative. I think about Warren Buffett. He's on our minds a lot, all of us these days. He talks about how much he left, how much he will leave to his kids. He likes to say, as you know, Tom, he says, I want to leave them enough that they can do anything, but not so much that they can do nothing. I try, as I think about the opportunities that are coming, to say to people, look, it's not enough for us to just say Elon Musk has now crossed the $400 billion threshold. We've never had somebody with that kind of prosperity. Isn't that a sign of strength? No, we have to be saying to people, if we don't make smart choices, it's going to end up with too many Musks and perhaps not enough Buffetts. And I think that's an important thing to keep in mind.